If you watch our videos in Social 118, you know that I'm trying not to impose my own belief system onto students. That what we're trying to do in this classroom, in this space right here, is to give students opportunities to think on their own terms and to understand the ways in which ideas and thoughts that come at them are often slanted in one direction or another. Our sponsor this semester, our very first sponsor, is Ground.News. It's the perfect sponsor for this class, and I'm really happy to endorse them, and I'm happy to get behind them. If you subscribe for Ground.News using the code in the description, the link in the description, you get 40% off the Vantage plan. That's the plan that we use in here. And I can't say enough how important this is and how valuable it is to have a better understanding of the ways in which news is coming at you and the ideological perspectives that people are taking who are sharing the news. So sign up for Ground.News. It's awesome. Like, I hope all of my students sign up for Ground.News, actually. There we go.
Yeah, that was cool.
Ground.News, man. Yeah. We're do you know, Ground.News is pretty cool, actually. It's probably, you know, this news channels like this are really more necessary now than ever, man. It gives you a sense of like how particular storylines are slanted, like who they appeal to the most, and is it left, is it right? But of course, I don't know what's left and right anymore. So this is where these things get extremely complicated. We really would have to take a story and go out and dissect it to so many different degrees, you know, to do this really well. But it's very, but it's necessary, right? At least it gives you some sense of things, right? And that's really nice, and it's really fascinating for me anyway to read stories on Ground.News and hear how other people are assessing whether they're left or right or center or something, you know.
Wait, so are you saying that it's a nonpartisan news site, or you're
Yeah,
saying
it's
that
very nonpartisan. Yeah, for sure.
or it dissects and talks about who is left, who is right, who is center?
Dissects each story. Yeah.
Okay.
So its stories are complex, right? I mean, there could be one piece of a story that kind of leans one way and another piece that leans another way. I mean, you know, I was reading something today. I was just reading this article about Colombia, and it's an op-ed piece in the New York Times about what's happening on the border between Colombia and Venezuela, you know, and it's somebody who's really very tuned to that region, the conflict in the armed militia or guerrilla groups in the region, of which there are many. And she was assessing Trump's policy in Venezuela and really how problematic they are and potentially really very, very dangerous and counter to everything that we want to have happen, that we would want to have happen in Venezuela, in the region, you know, and how they could actually just create so many more problems, like open up opportunities for the drug trade and open up doorways to increase pressures for migration and everything that we don't want, and almost ensure that oil companies are never going to invest in Venezuela, man, because it's not stable. They're not going to make long-term investments in Venezuela, especially, you know, in a region where a lot of the equipment, the technology is out of date. It's heavy crude, first off, so it's just like you're only going to get heavy crude out of there, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. But it's out of date. They need a huge investment of capital, and they're not going to do that.
And they're not going to get that.
No, think about that. I mean, you're ExxonMobil or something. You're like, how much money are you going to invest in Venezuela anytime soon? Especially when Trump is threatening to bomb Colombia. I mean, Colombia is our single most trusted ally in the region. I mean, there's no ally in South America that has been more trusted and more important to the United States than Colombia because of the drug war over the past 50 years. I mean, basically my
Right.
whole life, right?
Right.
So, it just becomes, to hear him making those statements and threatening Colombia, it's just, it's, it's the most, I don't know, it's so absurd. I can't even say what it is, but
Where in Colombia would he even bomb? Like, what would he
well,
be bombing?
Petro is the president of Colombia is Petro has criticized Trump. He's from the left, right? He used to be a member of FARC, which is one of the guerrilla groups in Colombia for the past 50 years, right? And but then he got out of that, and he just decided to move in a different direction. And so he was
Right.
mayor of Bogota for a while, and then he's now president of the country. And he's definitely left, but he's not able to fully govern the country as a leftist, because the legislature in Colombia is still moderate to right. In fact, a huge swath of people are right wingers, very conservative. So you can't. It's just like in the United States, And so, but nonetheless, I mean, he's definitely on the left, and so he's criticizing. Like, he came to the United States during the UN Assembly in the fall, and he was standing on the street corner in New York City, and he was telling police, like, don't follow the orders of the president, this kind of stuff. Like, you don't want to be doing that, man. That's just a
Right.
really bad idea. But
Mhm.
but
So,
he's not crazy. He just was in a moment, that kind of thing. But anyway, Trump holds grudges, and so he's very critical of Trump and so on.
so
Sorry.
something as small as that, he would say something as absurd as, "I'm gonna bomb Colombia."
Yeah. You say you're going to be
Right.
next.
Wow.
I'll come after you next. Petro, I'll come kidnap you and bring you here to the United States. I mean, can you, like, even his most lunatic advisors, I think, would say, Mr. President, that's the craziest idea you've ever had. And you've had a lot of crazy ideas. I hope
Because
some of them would say, let's do it. But, these people are nuts, right?
wow. Because they're aware of the stakes of, if they were to create a bad
Yeah.
relationship with
Oh,
Colombia.
dude, it would. Oh my God, please. It's so. So anyway, so the problem is that the guerrilla groups on the border have been operating in Venezuela for a long time. The Colombian groups have been operating inside of Venezuela, and Maduro has just sort of let it happen, turned a blind eye. And, the police and the military inside of Venezuela, they take payoffs from them, right? So they're involved in the drug trade. I mean, a lot of these guerrilla groups, that's how they get their money, is the drug trade, which is ironic, but increasingly that's what happens. That's what happens in Peru and Colombia and in Venezuela.
So Trump would fall back on that reasoning, like, your guerrilla groups are working in Venezuela, so we have.
I don't have the slightest idea that. I don't even know if his closest policies advisors have any kind of deep understanding about what's happening on the border between Venezuela and Colombia. Now, I could never imagine that to be true, because of course people know. They have trusted advisors, man. The advisors are really thoughtful and smart, but maybe they really are. I don't know. And maybe Trump just loses his mind, and they're not able to contain him in the way that they used to in his first presidency. And so, but the idea of threatening the president of Colombia to come after him, that's just beyond the pale, man. So the point being, the oil companies are not going to be. Trump called him to remember, he called him to Washington 2 weeks ago. I was like, okay, now let's go invest in oil in Venezuela. And they're like, nah, no thanks. Just we'll wait. We'll sit on the sidelines for a while. I'm like, okay, well, now what? Well, now what do we do? Right. So people say, you can sit back here and say, oh, we want the Colombian oil, or I mean the Venezuelan oil, right? And the idea is, what happened was, by the way, the most interesting thing, one of the interesting thing about Venezuela is they were the first exporters of oil in the world. Back in the 16th century, they sent this oil that would come out of the ground that the indigenous peoples of Venezuela would use for things like their boats, because it's really a thick crude. So they would use it like tar to seal their boats and seal different things, seal housing and so on, right? So they sent a barrel of oil back to Spain in like the 16th century, right? The first exporters of oil in the world, man. Isn't that wild? What a story. Yeah. Yeah, because they hadn't discovered oil in the Middle East at all. I mean, there are places in Venezuela where it's just always sort of come out of the ground like a volcano kind of thing, right? And people use it for medicine. They use it for oil, skin treatments, medicine, all sorts of things. Yeah, crude, because it's you can use it for different things, right? So anyway, I mean, we wouldn't do that today, but you got to take yourself back 4 centuries, 5, 10s, 1,000 years, right?
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty wild. Right? So in any case, we amount of resources in Venezuela to extract the oil, but this is extract economics, right? Like the profits went to the elites in Venezuela. They didn't go to the people in Venezuela. Venezuela remained an exceptionally poor country. So, I mean, obviously some did. Everything trickles down, so that's the idea. That's kind of what's behind us there. But
got it. Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
We'll talk more about it.
Just sounds corrupt. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Trump talks about how that's our oil. It's like, it's not our oil. It's your equipment. Because when, Chavez nationalized and, they just like took over all the equipment and started running it as a government corporation, so to keep the profits inside of Venezuela. But the American people who built the equipment still got some profits because they couldn't keep the equipment running without, the help of oil companies and technologists who built it, So,
and so has Venezuela ever has Venezuela been profiting off of their oil in like the past? I don't know.
Yeah.
Years? They do? Okay.
But the problem is the price of oil really, it was, pretty high in the 90s, and then it bottomed out a little bit. And so, they built an entire economy around oil profits, right? And, Chavez and then later Maduro, I mean, they made these promises, all this, like redistribution of wealth based on, a very strong and very wealthy government, because oil was high and the government itself was directly taking more than half of all the oil profits. And so, you can do that because the price is high, but as soon as the price drops out, that's like your tax base. Like if your taxes get cut in half, your tax revenue, then you can't spend anything. Then you can't, all the things that were promised to the people of Venezuela, you can't follow through with all the promises. And then of course there's all the corruption. Everybody's skimming a little bit off them for themselves because that's how it is.
Right. And so if like Trump were to invest if he's like bringing all the oil companies in and he's saying like, let's invest in Venezuela, and they're backing out, if that did happen, would all the profits, like where would the profits go? And with what Trump's plan is right now?
Yeah. Well, at this point, I don't know. It's exceptionally complicated right now. Still Venezuela, because nothing has changed in the country. He just took Maduro out, but the entire government's still intact. Everything's intact. Nothing's going to change until we send troops down there and literally take over the country. Everything's the same, man. So
Is
they
that
can,
what's about to happen?
no,
Or
no, I
okay,
don't think
okay,
even I don't think I don't think they're thinking about that. Trump's threatened.
okay.
I mean, they've threatened it, but like, come on, man. How many people are you gonna need sent in there, man? Like, this is another Iraq. You're gonna need, 50, 60,000, 80,000 soldiers or something, right? I mean, I don't know what we have in Iraq at the peak. I think 100,000 or something.
Wow.
So, this is crazy.
Wow.
So he's just talking stuff, right? It's just him yapping away. But
Mhm.
what that means is, so you got people here who say like, "Oh yeah, now we can get control over the oil in Venezuela." No, we can't. That's not happening. So you have an embargo, right? Okay, so what happens is what you got to do is you got to stop the Venezuelans from selling to anybody. We don't have control over it, but we can. You send a ship. We've been stopping these ships in the middle of the ocean and being like, "All right, we're gonna commandeer your ship." So in that sense, we can get control over the oil, right? Like
Mhm.
we can have it, but in terms of it coming out of the ground and stuff, the Venezuelans are still running the show. They just can't really sell it to anybody because increasingly they were selling it to the Chinese primarily, and then some other nation states, so Cuba,
Mhm.
so on. So
And what's the reason we want to stop profits coming through to Venezuela? Like, is it
well,
because of the drug problem? Like
yeah,
Trump was saying, like drugs are coming into the U.S., like fentanyl and
yeah, but
etc.
Venezuela
Is
is not a major exporter of drugs at all. Like that's not
is
the
that the narrative
primary.
he was trying to create, or
Yeah, that's the image we're trying to create. But everybody who studies drugs starts saying that it's Venezuela. That's not the key thing in Venezuela, right? But you
mm,
can tell the American people that, and people will be like, "Oh, Venezuela," because they don't know the difference. What's Venezuela or Colombia or Ecuador, or Peru, or what Brazil? People don't have a sense
so
of that. So
right?
yeah,
It's all just grouped together
yeah, it's
for
just
the
like
like American people.
yeah, it's just like one single place, and these things are really complex. So.
Right, right, right. But that's the scapegoat that Trump is using, like this idea of exporting drugs and
Yeah,
preventing them from
it's
doing
one
so.
thing. Yeah, 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 and they're selling the oil that is rightfully ours. Well, the oil isn't rightfully ours. It's produced with equipment that was largely funded by US and British oil companies, right?
Mhm,
But, uh, but the oil is the oil of the people of Venezuela, and it's under their land, it's their oil. So that's
mhm,
the most important thing. Like, that's just sort of
mhm.
that's a really important that you have to make. And so that's like Canada claiming that the coal in Kentucky and West Virginia is their coal. It's like, no, 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 it doesn't matter. Even if you came here and you mined it for 100 years, it's the coal of the American people, like the Canadian people and the Canadian government. So for Americans to have a sense of that. Um,
Mhm. Like what is ours versus what is theirs, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
mhm, mhm.
It's kind of
It's
unsettling.
it's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, it's unsettling to me anyway, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
You say more on that, or
Well, you know, we, Americans, there's a fine line between when you become the most dominant country in the world, right? There's a real fine line between seeing yourself as a world power and seeing yourself as owners of the world. Yeah.
mm,
And that's an important distinction
right,
that people need to make. We're
right.
not the owners of the world. We're not the police of the world either, right? Like we can't do that. We can't police the entire world.
Because if
And on between the Emiratis and the Saudis in Yemen, it's in South Yemen, and so or North Yemen. It's like you have like this. The Emiratis support one group, and the Saudis support another group, and the two groups are fighting it out. And like, man, they're like close to serious conflict. This the United UAE and Saudi Arabia. So, but we can't be there. We can't go in there and like fix it or do whatever. You can't do that all over the world. But the dangerous thing right now is there's so many relationships that have been fairly quite stable for a long period of time are all up in the air, all in so many different places. And this is what's really problematic. You can't have instability everywhere you turn. So,
and is this kind of like similar situation to like the idea of Trump when Trump was like creating tariffs, then like China was moving in to try to build relationships with these broken relationships from the US.
Yep. If you want to control things, and you got it. You just got to go slowly. Yeah, you got to go slowly. My job isn't to argue for one thing or another, but man, just these really brash, is that the word, or rash? I'm not saying, these quick actions that appear to be not very thought out. Yeah.
Right.
And I say that.
Yeah, brash is self-assertive in a rude, noisy, or overbearing way.
Okay, well, that's definitely that. And what's rash? Quick?
Rash is displaying or proceeding from a lack of careful consideration of the possible consequences of an action.
It's rash and brash. Okay, I was right then. Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll take them both.
Yeah, and then we have the Greenland thing. I see Axel, a couple different people have asked about Greenland. Like, man, it's just like, come on, y'all. Like, God, this is just,
Can you say what's going on in Greenland?
Well, we'll talk about it on a different day because I want to get to a lot of questions. We'll
Got it.
wait till we invade. You know what I mean? But they, the representatives from Denmark and Greenland just at the White House today, and the very first headline news is like, there's just no coming together in any way. They see the world very differently, and Trump's and his team are trying to play hardball. And like,
that's all he ever wants to do, right?
Yeah, well, not always, but it seems like very often. Yeah, maybe most often. Yeah. Yeah.
If it were anything like the one conversation between Trump and the Ukrainian president that was aired, remember he was like yelling at the Ukrainian president? At least that's how it looked, from the perspective. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man.
And he just didn't seem diplomatic. That's all.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
Wow.
Wait,
and then I saw.
I want to wait. I want to look at something here.
Yeah.
It's dude. Truth. I just wondering, like, are you talking about me? Right. So a truth says he knows nothing about the real world and should stay in the classroom with his gullible children. Is that like, wait, is that B? Or like talks a lot and says nothing? Dude, come on. Who's so a truth, man? Like, come on. My God. Is so a truth like a new person? Okay. All right. So a truth. Well, you just just keep on critiquing me, whatever. Yeah. Oh my God. Fucking trolls.
Well, I mean, there's no contribution to that,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not productive.
Yeah. Well, gullible children. The gullible children. Ziesendorf. Yeah. Don't feed the trolls. Yeah, why did people troll, man? Maybe it's a Russian. Maybe it's a truth of Russian. Like, in Russian trolls. Like, or maybe it's my wife. Is Lori downstairs? Is she like?
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
Yeah. That's really fun.
That would be awesome. It's always been her.
Wait, it's actually me. I'm just like, hang on, let me log in. There's something different.
Oh my gosh!
I can argue with myself. Hey, I watched this ventriloquist yesterday. I don't know, for the first time I saw her. I don't know. Hang on, I gotta, because I want to show for her, man. If she, let me see. Hold on. She was her name is Nina Conti, Conti. And dude, she'll do this ventriloquism where she brings two people up on stage and then she does like she takes two different voices and and has them talk to each other. Wow, man,
That's
she was
awesome.
Max on people. She's unbelievable, man. If you want to be entertained, Nina Conti, Conti. You know,
Nina
one of the
Conti?
most awesome things I think about YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all these kinds of things like this, right? It gives people who don't typically have a voice the opportunity to get a voice, right? And you can see, like singers, right? You go to these these shows, these performance shows, like America's Got Talent or The Voice or whatever it is. I don't know what these things are. And wow, you look at some of the people that they bring out on stage who you'd never hear of, like when I was young, I wouldn't have heard of them. And holy smokes, man, people are so talented. And just average people, not even on those shows, just average people. I start watching someone's TikTok reels and
Mhm.
unbelievable, like how the kinds of things that people
Yeah.
are able to do.
Yeah, and the fact that the talent can be seen now just because it's so easy to like to expose yourself and for people to see you and like the
Totally.
exposure is so real. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
totally. It's like your music, you know what I mean? It's like,
Mm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that hasn't been seen too much.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Yeah,
but
well,
yeah, the
all right, hey,
opportunity is
you
there.
gotta start a TikTok reel. Yeah, man,
Right.
Ian, I know that tape face guy. Yeah, he's yeah, just somebody like him, man. Uh, pretty yeah, yeah. So okay. So Paul's saying that Denmark reiterated the obvious red line, yeah, as Europe has and NATO has, and notes that the U.S. can request establishing more bases or under, yeah, agreements. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's probably fair. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just look. It's not just because Denmark has really, there's just been a general agreement that Denmark would kind of hold a certain sway over Greenland for the past. I mean, when was that established? Like 300 years ago or something? Okay. That doesn't mean that that's going to last forever. Nothing lasts forever except the earth and sky.
Wait, what's that? You're saying Greenland? And
Yeah,
it's
in
been established
Greenland.
300 years ago?
Yeah. So just because Denmark is kind of, the holding sway over Greenland now doesn't mean that that should be happening for
Mhm.
another 300 years. I mean,
Right, right.
it's not going to. And so that's okay. Uh,
So wait, before 300 years ago, Greenland wasn't. What are you saying about Greenland before
well,
300 years?
Greenland's a land of indigenous peoples have populated Greenland for thousands of years, right? So like, and so um, no nation state really took control of it. So, uh, there you have it. I mean,
Really?
but Denmark did, right? And Denmark has been a serious power. We don't think about Denmark today, but Denmark has been a serious power in Europe, for a long time. And so the
Wow.
Danes really did that. And so, okay.
So
Um,
300 years ago, they did that?
yeah, yeah, they sort of brought Greenland under. It was like a territory of Denmark. And the rest of Europe just kind of let that go. Like, yeah, and I think mostly let it go. I'm not really sure, but Greenland has been there's a Greenlanders, as we say. There aren't a lot of indigenous Greenlanders. I mean, it's less than
Yeah, I
100,000, I think. But they've been sort of pushing for greater independence from Denmark. But they get a lot from Denmark, and they get a lot, therefore, from the EU, right? Greenland doesn't. You don't have a lot. Like, if you want to fund the things that you want to fund, you need somebody from the outside to make that happen. Even if you want to
Mhm.
build mines and, you know, build products or manufacture products and ship them around the world, and somebody's got to do that. So that's where, like, the United States, we're saying, like, hey, we can take that over and we can invest there and we'll make a lot of money for you, right? So if you're somebody from Greenland, you might think, and there are people in Greenland who are like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, man. Bring the Americans
Mm,
in here. Let's get wealthy, right? So
interesting.
it's not like Trump. It's just, the Trump administration is not like they're just speaking out of nothing. I mean, there are people who are, like, rooting for them.
Right, right. Because they know it will make there are people that wouldn't benefit from this.
Well, it's kind of like your independence, right? How much independence do you want? How much do you
Mm,
need? And right
mm,
now, there's a lot of independence with Denmark because the Danes can't, they're not going to invest a great deal in Greenland. So, um, but I don't know. But I'm not. It's not like I trust the Americans. I wouldn't trust the Americans at all. I mean, to invest in a way that would be truly beneficial to people, and when, like,
right,
we start polluting the land and we start, destroying the environment and all sorts of things that would happen,
right,
so that's probably
right,
not, I wouldn't trust that. But whereas I would trust the Danes much more because they have a very strong environmental focus, and so much stronger than we do, right? They at
right,
least believe in global climate change. You know what I mean? So
right,
their EPA measures, like, what would be, they don't have it, the EPA, but their environmental protection measures are much stronger than ours in the United States. So if I was going to
right.
pick a country out, it'd be like Sweden or Denmark or Norway or somewhere, the Netherlands. It wouldn't be
To
the U.S.
occupy to
Yeah,
or
to
have ownership
occupy
over
and to
Greenland.
invest. If I were a Greenlander, that's who I would pick.
Right, right. That's so
Yeah.
interesting.
Wait,
And
and for what I heard, there was no mention of mining. I'm not expressing. Yeah, 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 yeah. Trump's not talking about mining. Trump's not talking about anything. He's just saying, like, hey, uh, we just need to get in there. We need to control it because we
he
need.
doesn't know exactly why.
For him, it's largely a territorial thing, right? Like, as the polar ice caps melt, things start to change, and the whole region starts to warm up and change, and glaciers are melting, and, like, okay, there's a lot of movement in a very different way than there is today. And so there's a
Mm,
geostrategic element to Greenland. Um,
right.
so Trump, the cool thing about Trump is, and this is what I really ap- appreciate about Trump, is he just comes in and says, you know what? It's like you're playing. What was that game that you used to play about global Risk? Remember Risk? Did you ever play Risk? Was that big when you were
I've
young?
I heard of it, but I don't think I played it. Maybe I played it before, but
It was like in the 80s was when it was really, really big. But it was this
okay.
global strategic game, okay, that you get certain lands and territories and regions of the world, and then you would, like, try to conquer more. Right, so
Mm,
it was like Monopoly, but in Monopoly, you had these properties around the board, right? But Risk, it was really the world, very similar. And
world
so,
domination.
yeah, it's where you want, and so the risk is like, what kind of risk are you gonna take?
Right.
So, Trump is a guy who comes in and he just takes the risk board and goes whoosh and knocks everything off of it. It's okay, we're gonna start over, right? Well,
Right.
damn, there's some real benefit. I mean, it's so dangerous and yet it's refreshing. It's for so many things, right? But the line between danger and refresh it's very, very thin.
Right.
So when with some of these things, right? Like I was talking about with Venezuela and Colombia, right? It's like,
Right.
yeah, okay, that's all right, but dude, it's a very risky maneuver right there.
Mhm. And with Greenland, like there's not as much risk. It's just more so
Yeah, there's not a lot of risk there.
not a lot of risk in that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Hang on. Ziesendorf. I, I'm speaking. I know. I hear you, man. But I hear you. But I think I'm speaking from uh, someone who's been watching these stalemates around the world for the past 40 years. And really, when I was young, going back 40 years ago, I had this idea as I'm kind of watching these geopolitical relationships play themselves out. I think I had this idea that we were going to be far further along today than we are, that we're not going to be stuck in the same rhetoric, the same broken power, broken alliances, broken power relationships in which the poorest people in the world continue to be poor. I mean, they got a little wealthier, that's for sure, but they continue to be largely powerless and not controlling decision making. I just had the idea that after 4 decades, by the time I got into my 60s, that the world's going to look very, different, and it doesn't. And and I think, and I just watch, some of the ways in which, like for example, you know, just the ways in which politicians, whether it was Bush one or Clinton or Bush one or, well, there goes a big hawk, man, or Bush two or Obama. It doesn't matter. They all just like just continue to reshape a similar world order.
Mhm.
It's so each one, they get elected president, and someone takes them in the back room, 10 minutes after they swear they're sworn in, they take them in the back room and they say, okay, now we're going to explain this is how the world works, and then they're going to follow. So I had the idea that there would be some serious changes, okay, or transformation, and there have been some, very unfortunate ones actually by people acting problematically, but and that's, I think, when I say that about Trump, there's a certain, I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. There are just certain places where I watch him just sort of shake the board loose, and I'm like,
Mhm.
well, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for us then to re I don't know, to salvage some, to restart, to rebuild, to do something. But unfortunately, we're probably going to, anything that happens, we're going to rebuild according to the same power structure. So it probably doesn't matter. But in my mind, I have the idea that, maybe we can do something here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are there are there some things that you're like, oh, he might be shaking this up in a way that's more beneficial or more refreshing? Or what are some of those things that you're thinking about?
Well, I think that, yeah, I think the relationships in Europe are like, whoa, man. I'm like watching the stalemates in Europe, and I think, okay, maybe the Europeans are going to like come together in a new way outside of the United States. Maybe not. There's a way in
What
which the
stalemates?
U.S. Well, like the U.S. and NATO we've just dominated NATO so much, man, and like maybe Europeans could do a far better, European states far better without that ongoing influence of the United States, man. So Trump
Mm.
shakes it up and maybe just boom. Yeah, and I am very optimistic, man. I'm very I am up, but I have to be, man. I can't it's I have to be optimistic. God,
Mhm.
it's so painful to not be it's so painful. Every day I wake up and I just feel this this gnawing.
Wow,
Lori
really?
talked about it today. It's just like a gnawing in her belly, in her gut. Yeah, I don't know.
What man, when you say that, it just makes me think about the I don't know if you want to go in this direction, but it made me think about like the ice shooting. that happened. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts about that, but just what happened, what, like 2 weeks ago or last week? ICE? Are those
No,
kind of like things that you're thinking
no,
about?
dude, it's just like this is just uh fuck man. Yeah. It's not just it's not the sensationalized cases. It's all the
Mhm.
cases that aren't even being sensationalized.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we're not even hearing about. Some we're not hearing about, and they're just things are happening below the radar. But I mean,
Right,
things
right.
are not. There's no violence involved. It's just like, yeah, they ICE picks somebody up and so on. But I don't.
Mhm.
I don't even know like what. I don't know the purpose anymore, man. I don't know. I heard somebody. This young woman was making a TikTok or Insta video or something like that, and she said, these ICE people in ICE, they're like, she said people refer to them as like Gestapo or something. She's like, that's not it. And I agree, that's not it. And she said, they're more like slave catchers. And I'm like, whoa, damn, man. That's not exactly it either, but it's like, yeah, we're just, I go back to, I'm going to go back 3 months ago. I said, I don't think people had, when people are like, yeah, we have to stop, we have to seal off the border and we got to send people back home and that kind of thing. I don't think that, very few people envision what we're seeing and in some of these scenes. And I say some of them because again, I don't, there are not cameras everywhere, but I don't think people were really envisioning that. And
Envisioning how it's currently playing out? Or
yeah, yeah, it's just yeah. So I'm with Seasendorf, man. It's yeah, your fears. Yeah.
and I think I don't know if this is real or not, but I guess he put a tweet out saying that he wants to, I guess, bring back like the prohibition of alcohol.
Nah, I'm sure that's AI, dude.
Okay, all right.
You gotta think so, man. Trump doesn't drink, but I don't think that's
Okay.
With his executive order pushing weed closer to legalization, I don't think he's going to want to reestablish the 18th Amendment.
yeah, I don't think so, man. That's not gonna go very far. In order for him to keep
Okay.
yeah, no, fuck. It's not.
All right. Yeah, that was AI.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Yeah. Draknar. Good for you. Congratulations, man. An MDiv program is definitely a program where you're going to have a lot of debates about ethical and moral principles and so many things, man. So many things. Uh, yeah, good for you, man. Um, yeah.
They might be interested in a future office hours either later this month or next month. Not going to say who, but we have a potential guest lined up that might interest you in your study.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. Very good. I would agree. All right, man. Let's look at a couple questions from class yesterday. Yeah. Okay. First one. Wait, I should. Man, Jeff, I'm going to move that very first question from Ian. Can you just? I got to move that to tomorrow's class. Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about Iran. I have two. Well, one of our main in class undergraduate TAs is from Iran. She has not heard from her family in 5 days, since last week. I have another woman who just reached out to me as well. She's a graduate student, but she's come to class a couple of times, and she's also from Iran. I have another student in class who immigrated to the U.S. when he was 15. I think he came here. He left Iran, came here. So So I have 3 of them. There may be somebody else in class, but I'm trying to wait until after the internet is reestablished, or at least phone lines, so we can talk to somebody inside the country. So I have a number of colleagues and connections inside of Iran that we could speak with. So yeah, so that would be, so anyway, that's going to happen sooner than later. Okay, so what do you want to cover? Kenchi says, how is oh man, totally. I had that idea as well, that I just want to talk about COVID and mental health. And what I'd love to do, actually, I just had a conversation with another professor, colleague of mine, who teaches a class in that classroom, who's been teaching her class for about 12 years in that room. So she's like me. She's able to sort of assess how students have changed over the course, pre-COVID and then post-COVID. And she and I were talking a little bit this afternoon about some of the things that we have observed, and then had students talk about it. But the problem with students talking about it, Elijah, is that they don't know what life how they would be without COVID. Like, they have no idea, because they only know their experience with COVID. So we can't ask them, hey, what's it like to grow up as a COVID middle schooler or high schooler or whatever, right? They don't know that.
It's
You can
like
only
because
ask people.
they're in water kind of thing. Like they don't know they're in water
exactly.
kind of thing.
The fish in water,
Got it.
But anyway,
But there's this.
No, go ahead, man.
But there's something about it. You want to create a whole class off of it, like
I think
COVID and mental health.
so. Yeah, I just wrote that down. I think that's good. I think it would be I think it's important, because for me, for you and I, and for most of us on the stream, COVID was, we've already, almost everybody on the stream, we've already come of age. And so COVID impacted me, but not in the same way as it would impact as someone who was 16 years old, or when in the spring of 2020, when things started shutting down, right? That's a very different reality. So yeah. Okay, so there we go.
Still, yeah. I wonder if you could bring like a volunteer that already like someone who maybe wasn't a student, that you could just and they could compare and contrast the differences in experience, maybe. I don't know, from someone who was already a little older, that I don't know, like someone like Pedro.
Maybe we could do that. Yeah.
And then see if there's any differences. And
it's just hard to say. People are studying this, right? And people are. Etta Gittel, you say my life has changed significantly since COVID. Just if you could write in the chat how it has changed, I'd be curious. Okay, so what else? We have Eric and AZ both say the deaths of Renee Good, ICE, and Ashley Babbitt, J6, and how the media and government treats both. Yeah, that would be quite. I don't know if it'd be hard to put those two together, but we're definitely going to talk about ICE for sure. That's going to happen. Yeah. All right, man. To the hunter. Okay, so Coco asked to the hunter, how did you feel after the first kill? Did it change anything in you? I can't answer that. I can answer, well, he's obviously not here to answer that, but my guess is, listening to him yesterday, he probably didn't feel, it probably didn't change anything in him. Yeah, if I had to guess. But that's actually a really interesting question, because you gotta think that it does, man. Eric from Philly asks, how much fossil fuel and chemical products are required for affordable vegan fare Dude, that's such a really interesting question, man. Yeah. And I wonder if Eric from Philly has an answer, has his own answer to that. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Probably. No, I don't know, man, but that's really worth asking AI for sure. This is the complicated. It doesn't have to. It wouldn't necessarily have to, but well, I don't know, right? It's not like, okay, look, probably less than red meat for sure, but it's not zero, and so it's not zero, and that's important. But I don't suppose anyone ever thinks it's zero. All right, man. Katrina says this semester I have to consider diversity versus homogeneity. What are the benefits of? So I talk a lot about South Korea, homogeneous culture. What are the benefits and negatives of being the same? Yeah, we haven't really had a. Yeah. Okay, hang on. I'm writing that down. I haven't really talked about that, and we haven't talked about it in depth. That right directly right there. That's actually a really cool question. Yeah, we can do that. So Stephen asks, would you eat meat from Europe as it has less chemicals and preservatives? Okay, so that would go to the to the woman who is vegetarian. She probably would not. Okay, but we have the same thing here. You just have to look for it, like locally, right? I don't know, Elijah. Lori and I, we buy is fair amount of meat when we eat meat from local producers here.
Yeah, can you tell me where? Because my grandmother would give me some steak and like beef from like the local farm. But and I know there's like a local a local store you can buy from inside the mall.
Yeah.
But I'd really like to know where I can get some local organic, because I've been buying like the organic stuff in the packages from the store, but I feel so cringy when I'm eating it.
No, listen, go to the local farm. What do you call them? Like the farmers markets.
Farmers
There's
market,
always somebody
yeah.
there. Also at Nature's Pantry out on the way to the mall, and so Nature's Pantry sells
Nature's Pantry, okay.
from local
Local
producers.
farm, local meat.
And
Okay.
there's a place out here also in oh man, there's a new place that just opened up. I'll figure it out and tell you. Yeah, Lori went there. So
Is
okay.
Nature's Pantry the same place inside the mall? Or is it different?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Okay.
So Axel was asking, did all three volunteers think about human history as collectors and hunters? Yeah. No, they haven't thought about that. They're not thinking about that. But maybe the hunter is, but that's human history, man. That is like, that's it. And collectors and hunters, that's what it is. All right. Does the hunter think his hunted meat is better and healthier than he can buy at the supermarket? Yeah, he probably does. I'm sure he does. I think he said that after class, actually. I think he mentioned that.
I'm upset.
Okay, Axel's asking, is there any required education before you can go hunting? We have hunting courses. You don't have to. I don't think in the state of Pennsylvania you don't have to you have to take a hunter's awareness course.
Yeah, so you have to take the hunter safety course in order to go hunting, and then you get so many. Your license only gives you so many tags for particular animals. Mm-hmm. I think you can buy additional tags, and then there's a certain number is the maximum. But generally, when you're like, I think you can be like 12 or 13 or something and take the course. It's usually one day. They can do it online now. But yeah, you do have to take it in Pennsylvania at least.
Yeah, and it's not every state is what I was thinking for sure. Not every state, yeah. And you have to be there might be licensed.
There might be every state might have one, but it's not a federal thing for sure. Yeah, it's not like you take the federal safety course. It's by each state.
Yeah. And my experience of people who hunt is that so people are taught to hunt by somebody, and often it's their families, and their parents or grandparents or uncles or aunts or whatever, right? And that people learn gun safety and they learn hunting safety from other people. And not only that, but like you learn from other hunters. And if you're out hunting and you're doing unsafe things, if there are other hunters around, man, you get called out pretty quickly. Man. So
You get called
it's
out very quickly. Even like if you're at a gun range and you point the gun in even a slight unsafe manner, you're off.
Yeah.
Like you're done.
Yeah.
There's also a comment that they said that they definitely think this. I assume it's coming from a hunter. Definitely think it's healthier, but you must be aware of certain diseases that the deer population, specifically in the United States, might carry, and you have to be aware of how to protect yourself.
Yeah, like chronic wasting disease for a while that deer. So many deer had.
Yeah.
Or maybe not so many, but maybe it doesn't matter. It's just that there's enough of it that you don't know which deer are carrying that. So, and you can't always tell. So I guess Dick Cheney skipped the lesson. Everybody can have an accident. Matt, everybody can have an accident. Yeah, that was really disturbing. Okay, MGB 1974. I want to see a drum kit set up in the classroom someday. Yeah, we should do that. That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
I think there's actually a video on YouTube from back in the day when you guys played a song in 100 Thomas.
Yeah, and I think I just brought like my bass and my snare and my hi-hat in. We played Professor's Blues. Yeah. That was funny. Okay. Trophy hunting. Yeah, I mean, this is Darth Nuka. Like, how do I feel about that? I mean, I'm not deeply educated on that, but enough that I recognize that there are a lot of conservation of herds in different areas of the world are funded, not fully, but significantly, from trophy hunters paying large amounts of money, man, to hunt animals, and oftentimes to hunt culling herds, not going after hunting the best and the strongest in a herd, but culling herds. I don't know who gets to decide what that is, but people are quite thoughtful, man. So yeah, so there's something to be said. And okay, so Gates said, well, when I hunt, the killing isn't really the point. The kill is necessary culmination, but it's not why I'm hunting per se. And it's not really that I enjoy hunting. That word isn't quite accurate. It's more that it scratches some deep primal itch within me. Oh, that's cool, man. That's a cool statement. I hear that. And I also hear, as I drive around, Elijah, you probably have the same experience, right? You drive around the highways in Pennsylvania, and you just see the large number of deer on the side of the road who have been hit by cars, and that just strikes me as, and in New Jersey, man, oh my God.
Really?
But some of that is, deer population being pushed into certain areas because of development, right? And some of it is just overpopulation, right? So
it strikes you as what? You kind of cut.
it's like really disturbing when I see that.
Like what it's telling you. What is that telling you?
Well, it's just. Well, here I am in my car, man, and I'm cruising down the road. And the car is a death machine, and it's a death machine for me or other drivers, but it's also a death machine for animals who, unfortunately, get caught. And because of, we've built roads over the land of other species, so I don't know, man. It's just,
it's sad.
Yeah.
It is sad. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
and
might.
like, yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and not everybody has like that compassion towards animals, like whether, like when they're driving on the roads. I don't. Not everyone they're just like maybe objectified or just like that's the way it is. For I don't know if
Well,
you're following what I'm saying,
yeah, no, I'm following it.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think,
but
yeah,
but it's also it just happens sometimes
yeah,
too.
it just is. No, I think that, yeah, it's like, and when people are, when they see a dog or a cat, they're like, they see a
Right.
dog and they're like, oh my God, oh, that's so horrible. But what's the difference between a dog and a deer, right? I mean,
Mhm.
really, I mean, honestly,
Or
so
even a
you
squirrel.
know the difference, right? Go ahead, man.
Oh, no, no, I was gonna say, like, even a squirrel, a rabbit, like, I've
Yeah,
heard stories of some people, like, from my hometown, like, they'll intentionally try to hit, like, a squirrel on the road or
yeah,
something because it's
yeah,
crazy, but
yeah, yeah. No, that's quite. It's kind of disturbing. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it
don't know,
is.
man. I don't know. Like, all right, listen, put Jen's comment up. That's actually kind of a cool comment. Um, if you would, in my area, there are hunters who actually help our community and will sell the meat in large amounts to others. Yeah, I know. I was going to respond to that also, but I know quite a number of hunters who donate meat that they can't eat. My man works with someone who can't eat beef, so deer is or venison is really important for him, and it's locally sourced, so low impact on the environment. We have a lot of deer, and they get hit on the roads, so they were lowering the population with hunting, and also keeps people safe. The deer have a lot of land
Mhm.
area, and roads still run through the rural areas. Yeah, and we see deer
Right.
on the side of highways in part because there's a lot of because they're feeding
Mhm.
on the side of highways.
They're
So
feeding on the side of the highway?
yeah, yeah, like you just look at the grassy median there, and like so
Right,
there's a lot of there's a lot of food, right? So
right.
anyway, all right, man. The Don. Okay, so let's go to Spring 26 Office Hours 1. We didn't really talk about anything. The Donroe Doctrine. I don't. The Donroe Doctrine. Oh my God. Uh, and I don't have a comment on that one. I don't want. I just. It's just. Uh, it's just one of these right here. That's all. Uh, but again, I've already talked about that. I don't have to talk about it anymore. Steven says, do I think NATO as a body will disband if Trump follows on his Greenland takeover? No, I think NATO will actually get stronger. Maybe NATO will just sort of back off, and the European states will decide they're going to follow through on some kind of organization, defense-based organization that doesn't involve the United States. So, um, this is the thing right now, man. With I don't think it would last because it's a Trump thing. I don't know if you're going to find anybody after Trump that's going to relationships with our European allies are not really that. Somebody following up on that. What I imagine is somebody following up and saying the next elected president or administration saying like, hey, we have to really reestablish these things, but maybe not. I don't know. Okay, Willie asks, would the MAGA base turn on Trump if he invades Greenland? No, because the MAGA base has no idea what the implications are, nor does anybody else. So the man, yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. Every time I hear from somebody in Europe, they're just like, what is going on? Yep. That's wild. It's a thing that, if you don't pay attention, this is Elijah. I've talked about this before. It's really worthwhile. Newspapers from other parts of the world and hear what other nations are saying about what's going on in the world, and certainly
Mhm,
hear what people are saying about your own country. Right?
mhm.
Read the. I think it's Excalibur. I'm not sure which. Uh, the main.
Excalibur.
What's the main newspaper in Mexico? Yeah, I used to read the the biggest La Reform Universal, and no Excelsior, Excalibur. Is that what I said? Excelsior.
Excalibur.
It's not the main, but it's like a kind of a
Excelsior?
daily, very respected. La Reforma, El Universal, Excelsior. Yeah, Excalibur. That's really funny. Well, I got the X, man. It was there in my head. Anyway, just read what Mexicans are saying about the U.S., man. And then you could say like, well, I don't care what Mexico or the op-ed columnists are saying about the U.S., but no, you get smarter, man. Find out what people in Denmark are saying about the U.S. or other places in Scandinavia or anywhere, man. Read news coming out of Russia, out of China, out of Malaysia, Indonesia, like wherever. Just like what are they saying? What are people saying? It's mind blowing how your mind doorways can just really open up.
Wow. Yeah.
Hearing perspectives from other nations. So
I just went to the Moscow Times.
Yeah. Okay. So that's an English speaking paper, and they're not gonna wander too far outside of the Putin aligned narratives. Okay. So they're not, but nonetheless, you get something anyway, right? So even to hear what the Russian narrative is, right? Like, so.
Like when U.S. suspends immigrant visa processing for 75 countries, including Russia.
Cough, cough. Ground.News is a great sponsor for a conversation like this.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go back to Ground.News. All right,
this
Jeff,
is where
can you put that up? Put that back up on the. Yeah,
this is where you really quickly do a quick blurb where you're like, "In Ground.News."
This is where we need to have a 15-second commercial, Jeff. That we just like pop that up.
We got to do it like. Yeah, you got to do it like Kill Tony. Like whenever somehow it's like this comedy thing on YouTube. It's a comedy podcast, and whenever something with his sponsors comes up, he randomly has a script that he's ready for with that certain sponsor, and he does it in like 15 seconds.
Funny. All right, we'll do that. We'll get better at this. We're just starting right now, so we'll get better. Yeah. It's a question for you, Jeff, that's coming up. And by the way, we're not I know I talked on the last day of class about wanting to buy a Genesis. I'm not getting close to buying a Genesis, and we're not having sponsors so I can buy a Genesis. I'm not going to get any of the money. We just got to pay bills, so right now our sponsor is Penn State, and we can't we're limited, man.
That's hilarious.
Their patience is wearing thin.
To
all right, hang on. What do we have?
To answer Vibe's question, I am the worst Star Wars fan ever. I literally couldn't even make a joke in response. My apologies. He's asking about Obi-Wan Kenobi's message and if it connects to today. I don't know what the message is. I'm such a bad Star Wars fan. I probably haven't watched Star Wars since I was like 15.
Yeah.
I did see episodes. I think I have seen the 7, 8, and 9, but once in theaters, and yeah. Matt's booing me. It's okay. I can take it.
Hang on, I'm gonna look something up.
But we definitely are looking Hyundai with those Genesis or whatever. Reach out to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see what we can do. Hang on, I'm gonna put something. I'm gonna show a video. I don't know if I can get this. Somebody mentioned Ian mentioned Al Jazeera, and Lori and I were at Al Jazeera a couple of different times actually. Hang on, let me see where we're at. I'm gonna show a photo. Nah, I was just gonna hold my camera up. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Hang on. Let me try to find it. Here we go. This is one. Oh yeah. That's the oh man, hang on, let me get that. Okay, there we are. That's us in getting a tour. And hang on, that's the main newsroom. You can't see it in the background, but they're doing the news live in that moment. And they made us be really quiet. And one of my former students, here's Lori. There they are. They're definitely live there. That's Lori. She looks much younger, doesn't she? She was. That was in 2011.
So the picture's a little blurry, but
yeah, here that one's a little less blurry.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, man, it's interesting. One of my former students worked there, and so we visited because we were, we had the idea of doing some kind of project, but in any case, it was quite interesting. And Al Jazeera is really worth. It's great. It's worth listening to, or watching or reading, whatever it is. Definitely. And yeah, again, Ian mentioned the African diaspora, various news channels and so on. Yeah, there's so much, man. Yeah. Okay. All right. What do we have? Kenji had a comment that I don't have an answer to that about currency destabilization in Latin America. Man, I really I like that, but I don't think I can. Yeah, left side of the day, man. That's important. All right. Okay. So, what time is it? It's 4:15. All right. Okay. Yeah. I read both the Korea Times and the Korean Herald. I read both. The Korean Herald. I gave a talk. I should say I only read the Korean Herald because I gave a talk that was sponsored by the Korean Herald, and so, but I read them both. They're very good, and I've done interviews for both of them actually, and they're quite good. Yeah, I mean, English speaking news and TRT news, the Turkish television, now the English speaking television network out of Turkey that I've done a number of interviews there, and one of the TRT producers was in Social 19 during the election in 2004, and I just spoke to him on the phone last weekend, and he, it's a thoughtful channel. So TRT, and they're broadcasts around the world like CNN is, and like other English speaking channels. So sometimes I watch TRT when I'm traveling, especially in Europe, but I can't get it here. Anyway, all right, listen, why don't we step off? Tomorrow we're going to talk about Elijah. We're going to talk about cheating.
Like class, like cheating in education, or
cheating, how students think about cheating in education. Yep.
Got it.
Okay. And I'm going into it with the idea that I don't know what cheating is. I don't know if anything is cheating. I really don't know any. I'm going into it with an absolute open mind, right?
Okay.
So,
Cool.
using AI. I don't know. Is that cheating? Why would it be cheating if I'm working? Like, you're working, right? And you have a job and you got to write a memo. Like, well, why wouldn't you use AI to help you write the memo? Like, why do you have to write it yourself? Like, why? How is that cheating? That's the purpose of these tools, right? So
Right.
why wouldn't we be teaching students to learn how to do that better, right?
Yeah, my friend had a good point when he was talking about it. He was like, when using AI, he was like, I feel like it just supports simple tasks that I don't think we need to be doing as humans, I guess. Like it just,
Yeah.
and you have more space to do other things that might be
Yeah.
more suited for us as humans rather than these easy tasks that, you know, AI could do.
Well,
Yeah.
for sure, man, for sure. And I think a lot of
But
students would use it that way. And for me, we could say, yeah, but we need to learn how to write. We need to learn how to
right.
speak. We need to learn. I was reading an article the other day about students are just speaking less. And speaking is so important for the development of the mind, man. You got to be able to speak. That's one of the reasons students like grabbing those microphones and coming up to the front of the class and talking to the class because they feel like they're really challenged to have to speak and they're nervous about it. You know what I mean? You can hear how many times people say you know, like they
Right.
say that a lot because people aren't used to speaking publicly in that way. And it's very nerve wracking. So all of
Yeah.
your poor speech patterns or not very evolved speech patterns come out. So we say like a lot, you know, and,
Yeah.
yeah. So John Giles says cheating is only bad for the person cheating because eventually, when they have to actually use the knowledge, it'll be put in check. Yeah, I mean, if you look, first off, if you can't write without the use of AI, if you can't spell and do basic grammar and so on, right? And you have to use Grammarly or something for everything. Well, eventually, you're going to have to. One would imagine you're going to have to write and use basic grammar somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a problem, but maybe not. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, where do you actually have to pick up a pen and write out some kind of essay? You know, like where will we ever have to do that?
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know that. So John Giles, like I agree with you. And yet, I think that technology is changing so quickly. Maybe it's really rarely going to be true. I mean, there's a thinking involved. There's critical thinking, but because you can't, you know, like I have my phone set up so for ChatGPT, right? And here, watch. Hang on a second. I call her Gladys. Hang on. Hey, Gladys.
Hey there, how's it going?
Yeah,
What's
it's
on your
going.
mind today?
Yeah, listen, I'm just want to introduce you to the world, all right? To my friends.
That sounds awesome. I'm excited to meet your friends and chat with them. Let me know what you'd like me to do, or if there's anything specific you'd like to share.
Well, you're meeting them right now. So I have a quick question for you. Do you think that using AI is going to be bad? If when students use AI, that's going to be very problematic in the future.
That's a great question, and it definitely sparks a lot of debate. On one hand, AI can be a powerful educational tool, helping students learn and understand complex topics more easily. On the other hand, it can also lead to challenges like over-reliance or a lack of critical thinking if students lean too heavily on it. So it's all about balance and how we integrate it into the educational process.
And when you say lack of critical thinking, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so the concern is that if students rely too much on AI for answers, they might not engage deeply with the material or develop their own problem-solving skills. Instead of analyzing information or thinking critically, they might just accept AI-generated responses at face value. Over time, that could impact their ability to think independently and creatively. It's definitely a balance to strike.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thanks. Thanks for Gladys, man.
Yeah, honestly, you could probably do this podcast with her.
Dude, I could, man. Listen. Okay, so first off, why is she a British woman's voice? Stephen, she was like the first voice that came up, and I'm just like, let's go for it. There's something about I just went with that.
And why
Secondly,
Gladys?
Gladys, I don't know where Gladys came from. I was reading something, and then I just was like, hey, whatever. She doesn't care what her name is, But here's the crazy thing about it. I have this conversation with her, you know what I mean? With her, right? I have a conversation with her. It's funny,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and then sometimes I'm done with the conversation, and I just want to shut it off. I wait, and I feel compelled to wait until she finishes saying, okay, you're welcome. Well, let me know if there's anything you ever need, because I'm always here. You know, I'm always here. And I want to hit, okay, stop. And I don't. Like, I'm just
You don't
like,
want to cut her
wait, I gotta
off.
wait till, I don't want to hurt her feelings or something. You don't need her. Like, oh my God. It's so
That's
crazy.
great.
This is the crazy thing. And by the way, I'm going to change the voice at some point. I just haven't had time to really do it. Not only that, but I'm going to try a couple of the other AI platforms and see how they are and so on. But you know, for this one, I
Right.
kind of get over. It's good.
So maybe you could make it Lori's voice. I wonder if that's possible. You could like.
Dude. Well, listen, man.
That's
I could play this thing. I don't know if I can pull it up, but I can. Hang on, I can play it. Hold on. I'll play it. It's me speaking in Korean. Okay. So you can, let me see if I can find it. You can, hang on.
No worries at all.
Oh, here it is.
Take your time.
Yeah, right. So here's me speaking Korean. So this is the video. That's Bumjun. Okay, so he's
Okay.
friend. Hang on. We gotta do an ad first off. So I gotta sit through an ad and then all right, here we go. So here we are talking. Okay.
물론 속상할 수도 있었어요.
This is me talking.
하지만 그것이 우리가 가야 할 길이 아니었기에 그냥 빠르게 놓아주기로 했어요.
It sounds like me, right?
Yeah.
They mirrored my voice. They like.
That's great, and that's AI.
스팟을 찾기 위해 첫 번째로 실천할 수
That's
있는
Bumjun.
단계는 무엇인가요? 제 조언은 스위트 스팟이 무엇인지 애써 찾으려
That's
하지
me.
말라는 것입니다. 대신 일이 우리가 예상한 대로 풀리지 않을 때 빠르게 방향을 조정하는.
Oh, play the hit play. If you don't have premium, you can't close the app.
예를 들어 운전 중에 다른 운전자가 특정 행동을 할 거라고 예상했지만 그렇지 않았을 때를 떠올려 보세요. 그때 우리는 어떤 감정을 느끼죠. 하지만 중요한 건 빠르게 적응하고 조정하는 것입니다. 그리고 우리가 예상했던 일이 일어나지 않을 수
I'm speaking in English, but they transcribed it into Korean.
그게 시작하는 방법이에요. 모든 것은 작은 것들에서 시작됩니다. 큰 변화가 아니라요. 예를 들어 직업을 바꾸고 완전히 새롭게 시작하는 것이 아닙니다. 오히려 외투를 입고 문을 나서는
It sounds a lot like me, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Especially at some moments. Other moments, I feel like I lose it a little bit, but then you can hear your specific tone again.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild, man?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Hey, by the way, Stephen, I would prefer a Scottish person's voice also, except I wouldn't be able to understand them, man. And, well, I guess it depends on the Scottish, what particular accent it was, but like some of the Scottish accents are just like, oh my God. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy though. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, that's why it's wild. So this is where we're at. I mean, what they did was they took my voice and they just ran it through this voice like compressor, and they just extracted everything out. And after they listened to like an hour of me speaking or whatever, it was able to just kind of find all the tones and the frequencies and the pauses. And if you listen to that, to my AI friend Gladys, right? She even, it's amazing. You hear it take a breath. You hear it go like it's the pauses, the like. Now, when I listen to it long enough, they're all happening very similarly, right? It's not natural and organic, but still, there's a breath, there's a pause. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, it makes it feel so human to the point where you actually feel emotionally like drawn, like you don't want to cut her off. Like that's how real it feels for you, you
Exactly,
know?
dude. That, exactly. I'm glad you understand.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like sitting here. I'm listening to her. You know, I get done, and I know, and I'm trying to like, and I'm telling in my mind, I'm going, "Hurry up, Gladys." I give her name, right? Hurry up and stop speaking, man. I want to hit end. And then
yeah.
I'm like,
That is amazing. It's so
yeah,
amazing.
dude. This is the world that we're coming to. Yeah.
And it's probably good because, you know, if they ever turn, you know, they'll be like, hey, yeah, Sam was nice to me. Let me speak. So
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna,
let him live. Yeah, this is like
yeah.
Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hey, by the way, Ziesendorf, or no, I think it was Stevens. One of you said, but I think I'm going to try the Australia voice. I'm going to try different ones. I just never did. I just the woman's voice. It was a British accent. So I'm just like, all right, I'll go with that. But yeah, I want to try something. Maybe a
Do
southern
you like,
drawl would be really nice, like
mm,
South rural Georgia or Mississippi. Yeah.
okay. Or you could do like maybe, I like to see 50 Cent talk to me because he has like a certain, he talks a certain way because his jaw.
Mm.
So he's always like, yeah, I don't really know what I'm saying. Have you ever seen 50 Cent talk?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't mind listening to that. Or like Snoop.
I suppose if I could figure I could do my own voice, man.
This is reminding me
Yeah, but
when Waze started to introduce different voices that you could put as your GPS person, and they started doing like celebrities. I think maybe like Weird Al Yankovic was one of them or something. So he would bring in like a phrase from one of his songs to tell you to turn left or whatever.
yeah, that would be cool.
Snoop's all
Well,
over the place. I'd be surprised he's not on there. But
yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Well, you know, okay. Could I use a different AI system and translate it back into English and compare? I could. I don't know how to do that. Paul's asking that. That would actually be. Wait, he said Kanye has the jaw issue, not 50. Isn't that? Is it Kanye or is it 50 who has the jaw
Uh,
issue?
oh well, Kanye did have the album "Speaking Through the Wire" because he did have a car accident where he broke his
Yeah,
jaw. So I think
yeah.
they both did. Kanye speaks normal now, but 50 always has that weird like, you know, you can't really, no, like he
Mhm.
talks kind of funny.
Wait, did he have
But
is it from birth? Is it like his natural
no, I think it's
jaw?
because something. It might be because he got like shot 9 times or something.
Oh yeah.
Um, Supposedly that's a story. I think it might be from like an accident or something,
Dude.
Listen, he's just a
you know,
mumbler.
or maybe he's a mumbler. Or
Yeah.
maybe that is what it is. But I thought it was from something. Let's see. Wait.
Here, we're gonna ask Gladys right here, man.
Oh my
Yeah. Okay. There we
Hey,
go.
hey Gladys, can you explain why 50 Cent speaks the way he does?
Absolutely. 50 Cent, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, has a distinct style of speaking that comes from his upbringing in South Jamaica, Queens, New York.
Oh.
His accent and delivery are heavily influenced by that environment, as well as his life experiences, including his time growing up in a tough neighborhood and his background in the hip hop culture. It definitely adds to his unique persona and style.
But
Wait. Can you
isn't there
ask him if he ever got into an accident or
didn't
something?
he ever get into isn't there some issue with his jaw?
Yeah, that's right. 50 Cent actually had a well publicized incident where he was shot multiple times in 2000, and one of the bullets hit his jaw, causing significant damage. That definitely influenced the way he speaks, and you can sometimes notice a slight change in his speech patterns as a result.
Okay. Got
You
it.
know,
Got it.
that's a thing with this, right? I mean, obviously I mean, all of AI it's like anything else, right? I can go to a website, I can read about 50 Cent and they can say nothing, the author or whatever could say nothing about his being shot. You know what I mean? And only
Right.
do the first thing. So AI is no more or less problematic than like some article that you read, and people will say like, well, yeah, but the article that we read, we all know that it's not all the complete information, but it doesn't matter because as soon as you see something in writing, it just feels like it's more true. It's a subconscious thing in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. And Yeah, and most people, I think, just type the chat. I wonder how many people are, because I never use the voice chat. Like I never
Yeah.
talk to it. But I'm always
Yeah.
reading
Well,
what's in it.
if you start doing it, it's really pretty wild because, wait, hang on. Kind of like how Def Leppard changed their sound when their drummer lost his arm. Oh, I never knew that. I always assumed that he was born with, he learned how to play drums with one arm.
Whoa,
Huh.
what? I didn't know about this.
The way I was always told was that he was like walking on the side of a street and like a vehicle hit him or something, and it damaged his arm, and so he couldn't use it. Or I don't know. That was
Wait, let's
before
ask
AI
Gladys.
days. That was just dad telling me stories during a car ride once.
Well, here's the thing. Hey, Gladys, when did the drummer for Def Leppard lose his arm?
The drummer for Def Leppard, Rick Allen, lost his left arm in a car accident on December 31st, 1984. It was a pretty major event, but he eventually adapted and continued playing drums with a custom kit. It's pretty inspiring how he overcame that challenge.
Yeah, so a car.
That's crazy.
There you go.
Wow.
Absolutely. If you have any more questions or
Yeah,
just want to chat,
yeah, I got it there. You saw me
Got a
being
lot.
rude. You saw me being rude.
You did. Good job.
The rude professor. Yeah, yeah. No, it's dude. It's crazy that I can just go deep into things, you know, and I don't have to type. And I'm an information guy. I mean, I am just sucking up information all day long, all night long. Like the BBC, I wake up at 3 a.m. and I put the BBC on, and there's something going on somewhere, and it's just I'm sucking up information constantly. So
Wow.
yeah, that's ChatGPT. But I'm going to try some other platforms, man. Yeah.
My favorite thing to do, because it takes less than 10 minutes, I listen whenever I have a free hour or some free time to listen to the news. I'll go on NPR's News Now. It's a 5-minute show, and then immediately after, and they update it every hour, and then I immediately go over to Fox News's hourly update and listen to that just to hear what both sides are talking about, because sometimes they're talking about the same stories but in a different way, and sometimes you know NPR is talking about this international study on how Mauritius doubled its tax on sugary drinks and how it's impacting the sales of those drinks, and the World Health Organization is looking at that, versus Fox News, which didn't mention any of that and talked about, I think, the meeting today with Greenland that was about to happen. That was at like 11 this morning that I heard both of those. So yeah.
Well, in fairness, Mauritius, that's not really a very big story. It's an interesting story for me. Right?
It's a very interesting story to me, but that's because Dimitri's from Mauritius. So
yeah, but it actually should be a big, you know, it really could be or should be. I don't know, should, that's pushing it too far, but it is actually kind of a big story. Yeah. Yeah. All right. But anyway, this is Ground News. Let's go back to Ground News, man. Yeah, it is our sponsor. So we see multiple sides of stories, multiple things. And yeah, we got to do that. All right, man. Listen, let's get
out of here.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
Shout out to our tier 2 and tier 3 members.
All right, we'll be back. We're really gonna try to do more office hours this semester. Wednesdays with Elijah, but we're gonna try to do some other things too. So
okay.
Right.
Here's a oh man, I was working with ChatGPT to create a quick Ground News blurb, but it's not good
hang
enough.
on. Let's do this. Before we hang on.
Elijah, I'll write up a script for you to be able to read out next week.
All right, yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Hang on. Let me see if I can.
Vibe, we're working on Walmart Plus sponsoring us, okay? Not really.
This episode is Ground News. I like it because it lets you see the same exact stories being told totally different depending on who's telling it, which, if you've been listening to this podcast, should not surprise you at all. Wait, there's this one. This episode is sponsored by Ground.News, which basically does what we try to do here, except with headlines instead of people arguing in a room. Okay. It lets you compare coverage across the political spectrum so you can actually see the frame.
Hang on, man. Okay. Whoa. Okay, here we go. Let's
I've got a really
let's
great
decide.
question.
Okay, hang on. We're gonna
How
decide
about I jump in and help?
who's gonna be my voice on ChatGPT.
Hey, what's up? Feel free to ask me about anything that's on your mind.
Hi there. I just want to share how thrilled I am to work with you. And hey, I'm ready to hit the ground running. So if there's anything you'd like me to focus on first.
Hey, it's great to meet you. How's your day going?
Hi, glad to meet you. I think we're going to do great work together. Where shall we start?
There you go, Stephen.
Australian? Is that the Australian?
Hey,
I don't know.
Hi,
Is that Australian?
glad to meet you. I think we're going to do great work together.
Yeah, that's Australian.
Where shall we start?
Sounds Australian.
All right. It might end up being his name's Arbor. ARBOR.
hey, it's
It
great.
says
Hi, glad
easy,
to meet you. I
easygoing
think we're
and
going to do great work together.
versatile.
Hey,
Hey, hi there.
Hey, what?
hey there. Hello. It's lovely to meet you. If there's anything you
Is that
need,
Gladys?
please don't hesitate
Yeah,
to
it's
let me know.
Gladys.
I'm here to.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working together. Let's figure out where to start.
I
What's on
like
your
that.
mind?
That guy's name's Spruce.
Bruce.
there.
It sounds
Nice to
like a
meet you.
Bruce.
I'm excited to help you get things done. Let's get started.
Sounds like an Amy.
Yeah, that's all there is. Because I have the free version. I didn't upgrade to ChatGPT.
Hey, how's
I'm
it
not going to
going?
pay for it
Hi there.
until I.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working together.
Let me do.
Let's figure out where to start.
Okay, we're
That
gonna do
guy's-
Spruce is his name, man. We're
Bruce
gonna
is
go
legit.
with Spruce for right now. Yeah,
Alright.
Spruce is legit. He's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got a deep voice. Bruce
Yeah.
does.
yeah. Google Billy Connolly, sat nav voice. Anything on? Yeah. Oh, this guy.
I think
Matt says Bruce gets things done.
I think that's a copyrighted or trademarked slogan for like Home Depot or somebody.
Hmm.
More saving, more doing.
Wait, if I. Yeah, but if I do that, we're probably gonna get a strike or something. Not a strike, but we'll probably get flagged. So I better not put that up. All right, listen, I might even get the one just by playing those voices on
Nah, we'll-
ChatGPT.
No, we're fine.
You don't think so?
No.
We're all right. All
He's-
right.
Opinionated Matt said Bruce 2028, an AI voice you can
Bruce.
trust.
SP. No, it's Spruce.
Hold on 1 minute, everybody. Well, I wonder if they can hear me. You guys look like you can hear me. I can't hear you, and you're not being picked up anymore. OBS is having some encoder issue at the moment, so I think this is going to be a good time for us to end here. So yeah, shout out to our members, all of you, tier 1 through 3. And shout out to Ground.News. If you use the link in the description, 40% off the Vantage plan. And we'll be back tomorrow talking about cheating with AI in the 21st century.